This is Omron Harvey Square, and he was 13 years old on May 15th of the year 2000. He lives in Najaf province, and it's kind of like it's about 3 hours south of Baghdad, right off the main road that they're going to be coming up from the south into Baghdad. And on the morning of May 15th, Omron was watching his family's sheep, along with several other of the boys in the village there, and they were trying to keep the sheep out of wheat that was being planted by the adults that morning. And at about 10:15 in the morning, an American fighter pilot flew over Omron's herd of sheep and dropped a cluster bomb on them all. Omron was killed instantly. His head was ripped off his shoulders. A number of the other boys were injured, and a number of the sheep were killed. And it was on the tail of this story that we decided to create the Omron bus. And the reason we needed to do that is that people just didn't seem to be getting that 5,000 children under the age of 5 were dying every month. You know, it's just too big a sum to deal with, or that 1 million were dead since '91. But we thought maybe if we introduced people to this one young boy and told them his story, that people would catch on, that it's just not right for this to happen. January 2001, a delegation went to Omron's village to try to get a picture. And they brought the school supplies that had been collected to his school, and they met with his family. And the family had no idea that we had heard about him, and no idea what we were doing with Omron and his story. And they brought the scrapbook that we had created on the trip, showed them pictures of us standing at universities, talking to students, and pictures of the bus, and all of the things that we did during that whole time. And the brother, who was the spokesman for the family at the time, said to the delegation, "Well, you know, your visit here changes everything. Because up until now, we thought Americans were just murderous barbarians. You know, they attacked us in the original war, and we have these sanctions, and they fly over our houses every day. They fly over them every day, bombing on average about every third day since 1998, the longest sustained bombing campaign that the U.S. has been involved in since World War II. And he says, now that I meet you, and now that I know what you're doing, I understand that Americans can be loving, and they can be compassionate, and they can be caring." And so he goes into the back room of their house, pulls out the only black and white photo that the family had of Omron. He brought the picture over to Omron's mother, who had been in mourning and hadn't spoken for 9 months since Omron was killed. She kissed the photograph, and they gave it to us. When you travel out there, the one thing that's very interesting about it is you can see the strength of land as you approach the farm. You know, it's really the only thing that is real, which is why they call it real estate, you know. So when you get out of the cities and onto the blacktop, and then the blacktop turns to gravel, and the gravel turns to two-track road, you know, the sanctions just kind of go away. And the people out on his farm are actually doing really pretty well. They're just living like they've lived for the last 4,000 years, and that's the kind of housing that they have now. So we brought the scrapbook to Omron's family, and I was able to sit in the courtyard of their house with Omron's father and open the scrapbook. The first picture that was in there was a poster where it was like Omron's picture with the writing superimposed over it of an event that was going on. And when I opened it up, and there was Omron with these letters over his face, and he's just kind of appearing behind these letters. There was a lot of tears on both sides. We spoke through an interpreter, and he learned that I was also a farmer, and that I had a son who should be the same age as Omron if Omron hadn't been killed. So we talked about farming, and we talked about what we were doing. And people need to know that that's really the true face of Islam. Okay, it's not what we're finding from Al-Qaeda and the Wahhabists, which is, you know, something like what Timothy McVeigh did with Christianity. It's really not Islam. But Islam is what happens when you kill people's children and they welcome you into their home. And whether it's Omron or whether it's all of them. I mean, they're all here. We've been to the places where they live. These people are not our enemies, and we simply need to come to grips with that.
and there's no reason for this war to have happened. The weapons inspectors were in there doing their job, and the weapons inspectors were also feeling a ton of pressure and a ton of despair while I was there. We set up a peace encampment that we had up for a little over a week across the road from where the weapons inspectors operated. And the day before Hans Blix issued his report on the February 14th report, one of the weapons inspectors jogged across the highway to thank us for our presence there, saying that it was a morale boost for the weapons inspectors who were there. They knew that they were getting the job done. They knew that they could accomplish what needed to be accomplished through nonviolent means, but they also knew that the U.S. had this dagger not only over the Iraqi people, but over the entire weapons inspections process, and that our government had no intention ever of letting the inspections process work.
One thing that not only people in Iraq, but people in the Arab and Muslim world who are looking in on this for the last 12 years are extremely concerned about is that because of the lack of food and medical care, particularly during prenatal time in women, and so literally there's a generation now of Iraqi children who don't have the brain capacity physically to think the thoughts that they need to think to solve the problems in their country. And then there's the rest of them, particularly in the south, who are facing all the conditions from depleted uranium, that what we've done in the south of Iraq is we've literally attacked their gene pool. You know, empires would come through there for the last 6,000 years, and the Iraqis were always there. They're very proud. They're not going anywhere. And yet now this material has been left in the desert that has a half-life of 4.5 billion years. You know, it's going to take that long for half of it to go away. And so we've literally attacked the gene pool of the people in this country. And so are they going to welcome the Americans after destroying their children's capacity to think and contaminating their gene pool?
For me, you know, the simple principle is massive destruction through bombs and warfare never achieves a good end, you know, even if it means the elimination of an evil thing. You're using evil to arrive at that.
And it's not either war or nothing. There is assertive nonviolence. And we need to go back to the fall of not Indochina, but the fall of the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc countries, okay? And how that was the most significant geopolitical change in modern days, with the exception of Romania, happened nonviolently. These regimes collapsed one after another nonviolently. And we have to look at, for example, what happened in Leipzig, Germany. Do you know about the Leipzig group? Do you know about the Church of St. Nicholas? What do you know about the Church of St. Nicholas leading up to the collapse of the Berlin Wall? Okay, people were mobilizing themselves nonviolently for years and years and years prior to this collapse. And in East Germany, it was around the Church of St. Nicholas in Leipzig, where people would assemble first in the cathedral. And then, as time went by, the cathedral couldn't contain them. Every Tuesday, they went to the cathedral. Then they spilled out into the courtyard of the cathedral. Then they spilled out into the streets around the cathedral. And before you knew it, there were tens of thousands, up to 100,000 people gathering at the Church of St. Nicholas in Leipzig every Tuesday. Okay? And this kind of activity was just the tip of the iceberg. This was happening all around East Germany. And when it all fell down, Horst Sindermann, who was a member of the Politburo under Honecker, who was involved with the Stasi, who was the East German secret police. Horst Sindermann observed that the Stasi and the government were prepared for every eventuality except for candles and prayer. So I think it's a matter of people, don't understand that this really does work. I mean, we saw it work in the Philippines. You know, we've seen it work in a lot of different places. And yeah, is there killing? Yeah. Is there as much killing with something nonviolent? There isn't. So we got to. I think that's my take on it anyway. Is that people just haven't been trained enough, or seen it enough, or are aware enough that there is another way besides war or nothing.